Hey guys, Matt Uguay here, and welcome to the table. Today, I thought it was important to delve into the captaincy debate that has been raging on this preseason, as who you choose to start with may have a massive impact on both your head-to-head and overall rankings this year. Before going over any strategy in regards to buys, vice captaincy options, etc., it's important to determine what we think these players can actually average this season, so let's get into it. First up is the most expensive player in fantasy this season. It's Nico Hynes. Priced at 984k or 68.8 points, selecting him takes up nearly 10% of your salary cap immediately, so is he worth it? Well, last season, when playing halfback for more than 70 minutes a game, Hynes averaged 70.3 points, the most of any player in 2022. This average was composed of a massive 45.6 units of carbohydrates to go along with 3.4 goals per game. This provided him with a very high floor to his scoring, his lowest for the season only 43 points, aided by his low amount of spilt food, just 6.4 units per game. So, the question becomes, is there any room for improvement or regression in his high protein consumption last year? Well, it's hard to say if he improves in any area when his scoring was so well rounded last year. Interestingly, all of his offloads were to the hand last year and none to the ground, probably reflective of just how perfect of a season he had. So a slight decrease in points from offloads and potentially a reduction in his high tackle count is certainly plausible, but not a certainty. So I'll be projecting Hynes for an average of 66 to 70 this season. However, it should be noted that the projected potential regression is entirely narrative based rather than having any statistical backing. Nonetheless, what we can gather from this is Hynes has roughly 1 point of value at best and negative at worst. Next up, we have the GOAT of NRL Fantasy in recent years. It's Nathan Cleary. Although we don't get him at a discount due to a send-off game, is he potentially still underpriced at 957k or 66.9 points? Let's find out. Last season, when playing more than 70 minutes a game, Nathan Cleary averaged 67.5 points. Since there's obviously no room for improvement in minutes as he's an 80-minute halfback, let's compare this season to some of his previous years. In 2020, Nathan Cleary averaged 62.8 when adjusting for the new scoring changes to tackle breaks, offloads and kick meters, while in 2021, Nathan Cleary averaged 82.6. So what changed during the period to drastically affect Cleary's scoring from year to year? Well, his carbohydrate consumption, excluding goal kicking, ranged from 43.8 to 47.6 units, highest in 2021. So although it certainly impacted his scoring, it wasn't the main cause. The largest difference was certainly Cleary's try rate, at about 16% in 2020 and 2022, while it hit 67% in 2021. That's a difference of 4.1 points. Along with that roughly 8-point difference in tries and base from 2021 and the 2020-2022 seasons, Cleary also had improved stats across the board, including his try assists, line breaks, tackle breaks, missed tackles, etc. So what can we expect Cleary to average in 2023? Well, if we take out his first 2 games he played when he was returning from an injury that plagued his preseason in 2022, Cleary averages 70.5 in that sample. With the departure of Coruscant, I think we can expect Cleary to be even more dominant with the ball in his hands than previous years. So expecting a bump in attacking stats, especially try rate, to have him approach an average of low 70s feels fair. So I'll be projecting Nathan Cleary for an average of 68 to 73 this season, giving him roughly a point of value at worst and 6 points of value at the most. Lastly, we have the least owned player of the lot. It's Cameron McQueen-Murray. Priced at 904k or 63.2 points, he's expensive for a reason. He's an out-and-out eater. In fact, he took home the prestigious title of King Known last season due to his incredible carbohydrate consumption of 54.87 units per game. But what can we expect from him this season? I'll be specifically focusing on his projected average through the first 12 rounds of the season due to the buy strategy we'll discuss later, but I'll also project his average for the entire season. So let's get into it. Cameron McQueen-Murray averaged 67.4 and 70.2 minutes last season in games where he played over 50 minutes for a 0.96 ppm. This is only slightly better than his 2021 season, where he averaged 62 and 65.8 minutes for a 0.94 ppm when playing in the middle for more than 50 minutes a game. Additionally, His performance in the second week of trials confirms Murray's ability, so I don't expect a regression as a result of an outlier season. For the year, when accounting for some minute management during the Origin period, Cameron Murray will probably average high 60s minutes, his PPM slightly increasing from the 0.96 of last year to land him at a projected season average of about 65 to 67. However, more interestingly, as previously stated, is his performance through the first 12 rounds of the season. Due to the Bunnies' hard draw, we can expect Murray to play bigger minutes during this period, most likely around the low 70s mark. The Queen has shown to slightly adjust his PPM based on the amount of minutes he plays, so projecting an average of about 67 to 69 through the first 12 rounds seems fair. So, he seems to have about 3 points of value when considering the whole season, and 5 points of value if you were to trade him out in round 13. Now that I've laid out what I think we can expect these players to average, let's discuss some strategies surrounding who you should pick in round 1. The most important to discuss is the buys. Cleary has one bye during the first 12 games in round 3, and the other 2 buys in Origin rounds, meaning he will miss a minimum of 4 games this season. Hynes also has one bye during the first 12 games in round 6. However, he only has one bye during an Origin round, meaning if Hynes were to be selected for Origin, he would miss a minimum of 5 games this season. Murray, on the other hand, has no buys in the first 12 games. However, like Hynes, he has 2 buys on non-Origin rounds. Unlike Hynes, Murray is a certainty for Origin, meaning he will most definitely miss 5 games for the season. So, on the surface, it seems as though picking Cleary if you believe Hynes will play Origin is the best strategy, while if you think Hynes doesn't play Origin, you should pick him, as you will have your captaincy option available through the most amount of games. However, as Murray plays all of the first 12 rounds, if you were to trade him out in round 13, you would get one more game out of your captaincy option than coaches with Cleary or Hynes. So let's see how the numbers work out. Initially, looking at this table, it seems as though Cameron Murray is the best captaincy option to pick to start this season. However, remember, as Cleary or Hynes will be out in one game, you will be able to captain another player and score an emergency. Let's say for sake of argument you have Sir Harry Grant, who against the Titans in round 3, which is Cleary's bye, should be able to comfortably score around that 65 mark. You would only require a score of 5 from your emergency to be equal to Murray's strategy points wise. However, if you got a score of say 30, you would be 25 points better off through the first 12 rounds. There are some other things to discuss in regards to the captaincy debate, however. Firstly, positional scarcity and team balance. If you go the Cameron McQueen Murray route in round 1, it likely means you'll be only taking one of Haas, Cotter, Tarpanay, and Carrigan, all of whom have clear value, whereas selecting Cleary allows you to take 2 of the aforementioned, and still have a balanced team. Conversely, if you see enough value in 2 of Burden, Hastings, and Dewey to take, selecting Cleary means you'll most likely only be able to get 1. Additionally, Murray is 53k cheaper than Cleary, and as the Cleary strategy appears to be roughly 2 points better per week than Murray, the value seems to be in selecting Murray, as you should be able to get more than 2 points per week with an extra 50k to spend. The final 2 things you should consider in selecting your captain is anti-potting and using an extra trade if you go the Murray route. At the time of recording, Cleary is 36.2% owned, while Hynes and Murray are 30.4% and 17.6% respectively. Meaning, if you were to go against the pack and select Murray instead of Cleary, and Cleary were to start off the season on fire, averaging say 80, which he certainly has the ceiling to do, you'd be left behind very quickly. Additionally, the Murray strategy really only makes sense if you plan to trade him out in round 13, whereas Cleary and Hynes are holds the entire season. Thus, the value of a trade may be enough to swing you towards Cleary instead of Murray. Ultimately, my opinion is Cleary and Murray are the 2 clear captaincy options to start the season, and you should most definitely have one of them in your teams. Who that is most likely depends on what you can do with an extra 50k, and if you value having 2 cheaper gun mids such as Haas and Carrigan, over having 2 cheaper gun halves such as Burden and Hastings. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to join the Discord in the description if you'd like some more advice. Have fun, and continue eating.